than that, this took the tyre off. As you can see, there's a lot of exposed wires with cardboard ones.
Yep, fun times. You see here that I promised there's going to be the next video about my next event, but of course I was too busy to ever make that video. Well, with commuting an hour to and from work every day, managing a music release, building robots, going to robot events, editing coverage videos for those events, and just going outside and living my life. Guess I'm editing again. On the 24th of March 2019, Bristol bot builders held one of their Antweight socials at the Lanes, which is a bowling alley in Bristol. This event would have 3 competitions, 2v2s, football and 1v1s. As I had 3 robot concepts and enough components and time to build all 3, it made sense to go ahead with that. Here's what I ended up with.
Keelbow Stabbins, Thwackbot.
Keelbow ended the last event with minimal damage, but wasn't really capable of doing any damage itself or any pushing, which are generally the 2 ways you can win a robot fight. My alteration before my last competition fight allowed me to thwack more than once in a fight, and it gave me an idea to install a proper wedge made of plastic and not cardboard, so I could use the robot both ways up, one way as a thwack bot, one way as a wedge. After stripping away Keelbow's armour, I stuck on this wedge here. I think it's ABS, but when I bought it, it wasn't properly marked. I just refer to it as right angle because it comes from a 1 metre long stretch of right angle. At my mum's house, we had the tools to cut the blades from the kitchen knives I bought for the original Keelbow build, and they turned out to be a good length. The rest of the shell was made out of a sheet of ABS we had lying around. For some decoration, we used an online Elvis translator to write Keelbow Stabbins on the wedge and prepare to die on the back. The final touch was some plastic triangles glued on the wheels so it wouldn't get stuck on its side. I felt confident about Keelbow's chances. Next up, we have
Madhouse Flipper.
Previously, Madhouse didn't work because I didn't know how to properly attach wheels to a motor so they actually turn. I bought some new motors called N20s which have a D-shaped shaft and wheels with a D-shaped hole. It fits flush and no glue is required. I followed this with a new battery, a 2S LiPo, a new speed controller, an unbranded dual controller from eBay, and a new frame, which I actually drew up some plans for. As there was no way that this robot would be invertible, I made sure that it could self-right from all angles, which is why I have the servo on the side. The final addition was a guard for the one exposed wheel in case I faced a spinner. Finally, we have a new robot.
Crew 3 Lifter.
Back at RoboNerd 2018, I built a robot which came to be known as Gru, then by the end of the day, Gru 2. I figured that I could make this scoop into a proper lifter by using the wheels as a pivot point and putting enough weight at the back of the robot that when the back was allowed to fall by means of a servo-powered actuator, the front would be lifted and the robot on the scoop would hopefully be easier to push around. This prototype version of Gru 3 fighting a Matilda hex bug from Christmas 2018 sort of shows what I mean. Gru 3 was one of the robots I tried to assemble for the previous event, but several problems happened during the build process. The motors I chose were too heavy, too wide, and didn't equate to proper wheel movement. I also attempted to use drafts excluder padding as tyres, which, as you can see, wouldn't stick to the wheels. The ungodly double receiver battery setup also had the issue of providing too much, I'm guessing, current for the servo, which twitched uncontrollably whenever the robot was switched on, so I decided to start working on it and move the electronics into Madhouse. For the new build, I reverted to 360-degree servos and a single battery setup. The big switch was conveniently placed on the side of the robot, but I was confident that nothing could reach or hit that switch in a way that would turn the robot off. Something useful that I used in all of these builds for the first time in my robotics career was acetate, which is applied to anything you want to get closer to the ground to win a ground clearance battle and get under things so you can push them around. Once I had all of these robots ready, I decided to test them out by holding a few test fights in the form of a knockout tournament, because I feel like everyone in the house would only have the patience for a total of 4 or 5 fights. To make up the numbers, I added in the Matilda hex bug, which we'll be calling Trunchbull. We didn't have a proper arena, and I wanted to minimise the damage done to the robots, so we put T-tails around the edge of the kitchen table and implemented a 3-strike system. If a robot breaches the perimeter and would have fallen off the table if the tails weren't there, that counts as 1 strike. A robot loses the battle when it has 3 strikes or if it becomes immobilised. After a draw, which took longer than it should have done, we had our bracket. So, our first match is me driving Gru 3 against my sister Regan driving Keelbow Stabbins.
3, 2, 1, go.
Both robots coming together side by side. I did teach Regan how to drive the robot. She was confused at it. To be fair, it is a confusing design. We're not really consistent with how we're considering strikes. That was like a borderline strike there.
I know, you've defense mode now. Don't hold my thing.
Yeah, this is just a weird bit where Roy was holding my phone and trying to turn it off.
Release the button. Release the slide.
Anyway, the flight carries on outside of the camera.
Judges, I hope you're taking notes.
Regan decides to spin, and I get my first strike.
Does that count as...
I don't know, was it?
Yeah, it would have gone over, wouldn't it? Put it in the middle. Right.
Him over earlier.
Okay, right, we're gonna...
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, right, so that's 1 all.
You'll notice my scoreboard counts the other way.
2.
They start with 3 and it goes down to 0.
Full stop.
Full starts aren't really punished either.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another 2 ones on me. So, last final warning. 3, 2, 1, activate. You're not waiting for
Drew
activate.
just needs to push Gilbert out one more time to win.
That would have come. That's what it come off. Stop.
And we have a winner.
Mobilisation.
It's Gru.
Gru 3 wins.
Alright.
Second semi-final will be my mum driving
Robotics,
Madhouse
stand by.
against Roy. Driving Transport.
3, 2, 1, act.
Full start, go back.
Right.
3, 2, 1, activate.
So doing the filming here, you'll see in this fight, I'm trying to make sure everything goes fine and telling people how to use the robots.
Missed it.
Just out of time. Okay. Right, should we count that as strike 1?
We'll count that as strike 1. Back to your starting positions.
That one for me.
Okay.
Yep.
The standards of safety
so
here are
1-0. Okay.
something to
activate.
behold. Another interesting fight in terms of strategy.
Yes. Good action.
The servo gets some good hits in. Trunch will get some flip.
Yeah, just.
It's not flipping it though.
Well, he's not on the flipper.
I saw many opportunities to attack which were not being taken. Roy getting excited.
Yep. Yeah, push him over. Okay, alright.
Be careful.
No.
Okay, drive forward. Okay, right. That's 1-1. Back to your starting positions. Alright.
That's quite good fun, isn't it?
Activate.
Come back.
Right.
Oh,
That driving
I'm
off,
going to count that as another one for
What?
almost driving off the table.
explained that myself.
I did it myself.
Yes, I know. You
No. Okay.
That's,
that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the third
Madhouse's
one.
lack of control leads to a loss of the fight. So we have our final set, Gru 3 versus Trunchbull.
Third place playoff.
This happens before that.
Madhouse versus Kilbo. 3, 2, 1, activate.
No contact made in the first 5 or so seconds.
Reverse off.
We're doing a dance. We like
You're
each
gonna-
other though. No.
Understand the controls.
Okay, right, that's strike 1.
I think this fight kind of
Okay.
speaks for itself, really.
Strike 1. Activate.
Whee! Is that?
Or almost, keep pushing. Wow. Strike 1, Madhouse. Right, back to you. Activate. Wow.
Yeah, wow's all I can say at this point.
Strike 2. Strike 2!
Which way's the front and which is the back? So I don't know if I'm going
Yeah, so I had to resort to a quick impromptu lesson
Front.
in driving.
It turns around, I don't know.
How are you driving it?
Here we see a bit better on how Madhouse looks from the back.
Show me how you go. Show me how you go forward. Yeah, like that. Okay, right. Back to starting positions. Activate. Kilbos and strike 2. Oh yeah. Yep. Keep driving.
Successful
No.
flip from
Yeah. Wedge
Madhouse.
is now the front. Wedge is now front. Ah, God. It'll sound when it's good and ready.
No, what am I supposed to do with this?
Push.
Stop. I can't. It's too strong. Flip.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh.
I often get frustrated when people can't work out bits of technology which I know how
I'm
to
going to call that
use.
strike 2 Madhouse.
But,
So, back to starting positions. Back to... Hey, stop! Stop! Right, okay.
my level of frustration
Both on strike 2.
Alright.
Next strike
Are,
loses.
getting
Time because the time's
relatively
Okay.
up there now.
Activate.
because I don't have the time to explain what's actually happening to everything
It
here.
won't stop.
I'm going to call that strike 3. Madhouse wins.
So Madhouse takes the third
wins.
place
Madhouse,
and
cease! Cease!
does a bit of victory lap.
Cease! Okay, good fight. Now time for the final.
What happens now?
It is now time for the final. Group 3 by me, owned by me,
Ready?
against Transport.
Okay.
Count us down to activate.
3, 2, 1, activate.
First lift, Transport drives off. Transport gets a good drive. Comes close to knocking me out, but doesn't quite get the push in. Slowly turning around, lifting and escaping. Group 3 another lift. Good control, but Transport looks like it might escape. The flapping of the panel at the back does
Okay.
help
back to
with
stop.
moving slightly.
Okay.
Reset
3,
after
2, 1,
Transport takes his
activate.
first strike.
Whoa! I shouldn't have happened.
Group 3 gets under again and tries to push. And that's a strike for Trunchbull after capitalising on Group 3
3, 2, 1.
repositioning.
Activate.
It's a tactical fight between these two. Group 3 can't quite capitalise on Trunchbull's driving error before Trunchbull drives right onto the scoop.
No, because you didn't knock
Doesn't
him
count
over.
as a strike. Trunchbull backing back on. I think the spinner's on at this point, but Spinner isn't able to reach anything
Yeah.
Strike 2.
vital before Trunchbull gets its second strike.
Round and hit me with that. That can cause some damage.
I'm pretty sure I explains how to
Yeah.
start the spinner and the
3, 2, 1,
everything, but-
activate. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Trunchbull just tries
I
to
think that's
drive
another
right out
one.
the arena, but
Why?
I was enjoying myself, so I kept going.
Three. That's it. I think you've won.
And there we go, Group 3
Carrying
takes the
around.
win of the tournament, but
You
can't get
stop.
Trunchbull off.
Yeah, that's it. I can't. We're entangled. Right. So we're calling that count out.
Yeah.
Yay.
You win, don't you?
Robot 2 wins.
Fix. No.
Don't run straight.
Right, should we all go in the arena at the same time now?
After the final, we had a rumble with all 4 robots and 2 strikes per robot.
This is the rumble. 4 robots in the arena at the same time. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Kilbo immediately driving relatively close. I say it counts as a strike, but it doesn't actually. Trunchbull gets a little flip in on Gru. Madhouse trying to gain control. Kilbo kind of spinning around, Gru positioning, trying to find out who he's going to...
Okay,
Push
Madhouse. Madhouse, strike 1.
Madhouse gets on the
Get
end
2
of the
strikes in this
push
rumble.
and
Everyone to your starting
gets his
positions,
first
please.
strike.
Yep. We'll fix that
One
later.
of Kilbo's plastic pieces came off the wheel,
Ready?
so
3,
if it gets flipped
2,
onto one of the
1,
sides,
activate.
it may not self-right.
Madhouse strike. Madhouse, you are eliminated.
Madhouse immediately drives into the T-Tails, eliminating itself, but we won't remove it from the arena until Well, yet. Madhouse gets an incredible flip on Gru, all the way over, while the other two sort of just waiting and watching, really.
Yeah, strike one me.
Strike one as I'm flipped onto the T-tails.
You know what, yeah, let's keep going until we're
Regan misunderstands how the weapon works on Kilbo.
back to life, yes.
I drive off the T-tails and keep fighting. Everyone's sort of stuck in one place.
How am I back on the right way?
Madhouse
Okay.
creates a proper arena breach.
Arena breach. Okay. Madhouse is eliminated.
Am I out now?
Yeah.
Oh, I was quite glad I flipped. And that's quite good.
Okay, deactivate.
So with 3 robots left, we
Back to
continue.
positions. Okay. I'm on 1 strike, you're on 1? 0, okay, fine, no, 0 strikes, right. You are about to drive yourself out of the arena.
What was I
Oh,
having?
you went the wrong way round.
No, it's because otherwise I don't have any weapons.
Fine. There.
Oh, that was.
How is this going to swing down if it's there? What's it swinging?
That's why I don't understand.
It's that, right?
Oh, Eli's been cheating his whole match.
You play your robot in attack mode and end your go, right?
No one got
Count
my
us in.
Yu-Gi-Oh
3,
reference.
2, 1, activate.
Regan, now that she knows how to chop, is trying to chop everything.
I didn't see anything.
Gru gets a lift on Trunk Ball,
Strike one.
Which way is forward or which way backwards? I don't
so we're now level.
Ways forward.
Right, everybody, right.
Okay, everyone's on 1 strike.
Next one to
Next one to breach the
out.
arena is out. Ready?
3, 2, 1, activate.
Kilbo almost breaches the arena immediately. With Gru, I'm trying to get another lift on Trunk Ball. Some good chopping action from Kilbo. Trunk Ball with some very aggressive driving, but ending vulnerable to a lift and push,
Okay, yeah.
which is its final strike.
It's Gru versus Kilbo for the rumble.
You're out.
So Gru and Kilbo face off to win the Rumble.
Right, let's pop you at the other end. Okay, no, yeah. Ow. Okay, right. Winner takes all. In the rumble. Ready?
3, 2, 1, activate.
Charge together. Going straight on was a mistake by Kilbo, as I'm able to pick it up and take it directly to the T-tails.
Best one then.
I doubt it. I don't think.
Really?
With my first event win under my belt, I recharged the batteries and headed to Bristol the next day. Welcome to Bristol, Robot City, so much so that the first thing I see here is Series 1 champion Roadblock. For this event, I've roped in my friend Molly, who lives in Bristol, as a teammate for the 2v2 tournament. We met in a restaurant near the lanes where she gave Gru a quick paint job on its blank top panel. She said she could do a skull and crossbones and asked if I wanted a human or deer skull. I thought for a second and said, minion skull. And so we proceeded to the event. Bristol events don't use robot names in their tournament brackets, only the Roboteer names. So here's the battle board for our first fight. So, in this fight, I am driving Kilbo, Molly is driving Gru, the green robot is James's, it's called Smackdown, I don't know the name of Charlie's one. Also, this was the first fight of the day, the pits are both covered, so there will be no... you have to push over that wall to get into the pit. A lot of shoving going on, me and Molly not really doing much. I'm driving around trying to chop. Also note, in the bottom left corner is a flipper. Kilbo is chopping away at nothing in particular. Smackdown is pestering Gru. The house robot, called Edgelord, comes out. Gru gets flipped over. I thought it was completely invertible, but really only one wheel touches the ground like this. So Kilbo getting tangled up with the house robot, getting a lift attack in on Smackdown. The flipper is looking for something. Gru getting fed back to the flipper and flipped back upright. Kilbo now takes on the flipper and both teams having one member on the verge of the pits. So I come in to try to help Molly out. And yep, same again with one team member being threatened. And now that Gru's scoop is over the ledge, it's an easy push in. Its wheels are off the ground. And it does go. There we go. It goes in. So it's now me against 2 robots. And pressurizing smack down the corner. Pressurizing the flipper now. I think that means 1 minute left. No, it doesn't. Yeah, we're done. The rules of the doubles competition mean if a fight goes to 2 minutes, the team with more robots left standing at the end wins. Because Gru was in the pit, we lost. Bristol Bot Builders events run double elimination tournaments, so we had at least one more fight to look forward to, and our next fight was this one. Next fight, we are same drivers again. The Axe robot is George's. I'm flipped in by the flipper pretty much immediately. Flipper gets Gru all the way over, running in circles, and straight in the pit. There we go. Molly had to leave shortly after we were eliminated, so for the next event, the football, I teamed up with 2 other guys at my table, Ty and John. 9 teams of 3 entered, playing 2 matches each. The 2 teams with the best record went through to the final. Time limit was 2 minutes. If scores were level at the end, there would be golden goal extra time with no goalkeepers allowed. I'm not going to lie to you, most of these matches were quite boring. Here's the first one. So here's how most matches with this sort of goal format work. Ball gets in the corner behind the goal. No one touches it for a while. I've cut out some space there. And then the ball goes over to this corner. That's actually 30 seconds there I cut out. Where the ball didn't move at all and no one got it. It's still there, yep. And now we're about halfway through the match. The lights are going to flash. Opposition keeper comes out and scores an own goal, so that's 1-0 to us. There's a restart. I come in with a bit of a save. Our keeper, who's goal hanging, comes in with a save. The ball gets knocked into our corner. And then I've sped this bit up 10 times because for the rest of the match the ball does not move from that spot. And then the lights flash to signify the end of the game, and we've won 1-0. So we get a second match, and here is that match. So this is a bit of an interesting match because one of the robots on the other team is called Wedge Wedge Wedge, and it consists of 3 50-gram wedges. So the ball is sort of running around wherever it likes, and the wedges are trying to beach everyone else at the moment. And it gets caught in the corner. I cut out about 10 seconds of it being stationary in the corner. So there's a sketch in Harry Enfield where there's an old football team playing and the whole team chases the ball. So the ball gets in the corner again. I managed to spin it out after about 10 seconds, and then, it's sped up 10 times. For the rest of the match, at least a minute, that ball does not move. So now it goes to sudden death. Golden goal. Finally, a wedge gets the ball out, and they make us pull our keeper. And there's immediately a goal. So we lose that 1-0. After all that nonsense, we did not make it through to the final. The main event of the evening was the 1v1 competition. 29 robots and roboteers entered this tournament, so a deep run would mean having to make a tricky decision between forfeiting some fights or missing my coach back to London and a difficult phone call with work in the morning. As we entered with our names, I was able to delay choosing my robot until just before the first fight. My tablemate Ty went up to check the bracket and came back looking concerned. He'd been drawn against me, and whoever won would face George, who had what Ty described as a very nasty spinner. Another person sitting at our table showed us some damage on one of his robots from fighting George's spinner in the past. The height of the damage mark gave me good insight on what to expect. If I entered Kilbo, the wheels would likely be obliterated. If I entered Madhouse, the whole frame would likely be reduced to shards. So Gru was a logical choice. When we were called to the arena, we shook hands and prepared for an interesting situation. Whoever wins loses. We were both around the same speed, so we come together slowly. Both trying to get the first lift in. Ty's robot definitely has the stronger drive. So we feel the push. We're now driving in the same direction. Interesting. Ty's getting under. I'm able to get under now and push against and back to the wall. But I can't turn it into the pit. Around this time, someone complimented the robot outside the arena, and I got distracted, which allowed me to get pushed in the pit. Ty claimed his prize of a date with George's spinner vampire, where this happened.
Ooh, glad that wasn't us.
Meanwhile, in the losers bracket, this is a fight against a drum spinner called Jank. Jank spins up, comes towards me. First time I've ever fought a spinner, and I think I've taken it well so far. No damage, just turning around, trying to lift the drum with the scoop. That's not really working. Really, I should have gone for the side to destabilize it. Get close to the pit, it grinds against the switch. Luckily doesn't push the switch and turn me off. Circling around it, trying to keep the scoop pointed at it. I'm not able to do anything. And the scoop comes off with a hit, which means I'm much more easy to push. And I'm right in the pit. I stayed around for a bit longer, but eventually I had a coach to catch. All in all, pretty good event. No battle wins, but some good testing.
So, damage report today is going to be quite quick. So, Madhouse did not fight at all. No damage to report. Working fine. Kilbo. Also working fine, but a bit grubby from being in the dusty arena, which I didn't know was going to be so dusty. Gru. Fought a spinner. Yeah. Scoop broke off. That's going to be a 30-second fix. It's ready to go for the next competition whenever that is. So, and the minion still all good. So that's damage report. That concludes the video. I will see you at the next event.